Dad, it's occurred to me that the football season did not end 4 weeks ago. Um,
4 weeks ago? No, I don't think
yeah,
so, did it?
yeah. So I thought that when the Lions didn't have a chance at the playoffs anymore, it meant that we didn't have football was done. And apparently, the season keeps going. So I would like to
Oh,
welcome you and everyone back to another episode of Two Bits Talking Shit, where me and my
yeah.
dad talk about professional NFL football.
Uh,
Because we got more sports to talk about, apparently. Uh,
yeah,
welcome
well,
back once again.
good thing that I didn't think that it ended when the Raiders had no shot at the playoffs then
Yeah,
because
I should have
we would have
thought about
stopped doing this
that.
podcast 3 months ago.
Yeah, it would have been 3 months ago. But no,
But it is
welcome
nice to be
back.
back.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry, the last month has been a bit hectic for me, and I'm gonna say me and only. I think it's my fault that we have not uploaded in a month. I will take the brunt of it all. I have moved, I have traveled, I have gotten sick. It has been a mess, and it's my fault entirely that we did not get anything out. So I apologize.
I
But
agree wholeheartedly. It was all
agree
your fault.
wholeheartedly. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate that one.
Huh? Yep, here for you, buddy.
But welcome back to another episode of the podcast. We are 1 week into the NFL playoffs, and I mean, relevancy is a huge thing in sports. So the last month of football, with the exception of last week, really isn't going to be discussed much, I think, this week. I mean, we'll touch on some things,
No.
but I think we're mostly going in to what's happening right now, which is round two of the playoffs. We're in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs going
Yeah.
into the last month of football, professional wise at
Yeah.
least.
Yep, last month, yeah.
So let's get right into it. Dad, what do you want to start with this week? You want to start with games? You want to start with teams that have been
Well,
eliminated?
I want to briefly just catch up last week a little bit
Okay.
because I was thinking about this, and I think that every year that I say it, you say it, we think it as fans.
Hmm.
It's said in media that God, this year was such a great year. This was such an awesome year. These games were so awesome.
Hmm.
And coming out of this last week of the first round of the playoffs, I said the same thing. I thought, holy crap, this has been phenomenal. I mean, we're not even going to talk about college football, but if you add in college football
Yeah.
last weekend, it was
Yeah.
Thursday night, Friday night. We had NFL Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And as an absolute football nerd that I am, who will sit on the couch all day and watch football if I can, um, that was like paradise for me. So,
Yeah.
in hindsight, looking back, I would say that it's not just a prisoner of the moment, that it's because it's happening right now. But
Hmm.
thinking back today, I was thinking it is a great year of football. The
It
teams
was.
are different. It is not the same team. Kansas City is not in the playoffs this year. The
Yeah.
Ravens, we're not talking about the Ravens in Kansas City, and Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals
Well, that's the
basically
same.
didn't have a shot all year. And the topics have changed a little bit. I mean, we've got Josh Allen still in the playoffs and the Rams, who have been relevant the last couple of years. But when you look at teams like the 49ers, who have been relevant, but they shouldn't be here, and they're overcoming all this. And the Patriots are back after, thank God, hiatus. They've been back, but they're a completely different team. So it's almost not even like they're the Patriots of old. And the Eagles
Yeah.
lost, and so that was awesome. And the Texans are really good, and the Chargers can't get over the hump. And the Bears, while coming out of the Lions division, is not necessarily what we wanted to see. The Bears in Green Bay played a phenomenal
Really
game,
fun game.
and the Panthers, who the hell? Where'd the Panthers come from? They almost beat the Rams.
The Panthers came from a division
And
of three teams with a losing record, tying for
yeah,
first.
and then
That's what happened.
but they almost beat the
Beat the
Rams. I
Rams.
mean,
I
they had a
know.
losing record going into the playoffs and almost
Yeah.
beat the Rams. And if they had beat the Rams, that takes one of
That'd
the
have been
favorites out
awesome.
of it.
That'd have been
And so,
awesome.
I mean, I'm like, not just was it great football, but we got different players in this year. It's nice to see. And
Neither
like
of
I
the
said, we're not
first
going to
seeds
talk
from
about
last
college.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about college at all, really, except to say this. But Indiana has never been good at football, and
And they
they're probably
are
going to win the national championship.
they're one
So
of the
it's
best.
just, it's not
Yeah.
just it's not just the hot topic. It's not just this. Really was a phenomenal end of the
It was
season in the
insane.
NFL,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to continue to be that way. So that's all I want to say. A little bit about last week. We can discuss more if you'd like, but
No, it was
it
yeah,
was
I
a great,
agree.
great, great
I
weekend of
wholeheartedly
football.
agree.
It
With
was
the exception of two football games, the last two that were played, this
Yes.
weekend. I would say
Yeah.
top tier football all around. The Pats Chargers game and the Steelers
That
Texans
was a
game was a
dud.
bit. They were both a bit of snooze
Yeah.
fest, but
Yeah.
without that, yeah, great. I mean, again, the both of the first seeds of the NFL last year are not even in the playoffs this year, which is shocking.
Yeah.
That was crazy to see, especially because my team was
Yeah.
the number one seed last year. But that's whatever. But otherwise, yeah, all
Yeah.
games with the exception of the last two were one score games, and came down to the
Yeah.
final minutes. Every
Uh-huh.
single one of them, it was awesome. So. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And now we have 4 games that are going to be super insane, probably this week, too.
I would hope so. It's going to be hard to top last week, but yes,
I
we
mean,
now
yeah.
we've whittled it down. And so let's just run through those.
Yeah.
How do you want to go through those? Let's go through those.
Let's start on the AFC side. Let's start with the
Okay.
Bills at the Broncos. This is going to be
Oh,
a fun one, but I will say this: I do think the Bills are going to win this game.
you've got the Bills. I think
Yeah.
they're actually favored. They're favored.
Yeah, they should be, because here's my thoughts. I think the teams that get a bye are actually in a worse position than the teams that don't get a bye, because having that week of break can slow your team down and you can lose any momentum that you had, if you had any. And I think the Broncos were a team that had momentum and took that 1 week break might bump them
Mhm.
out, because they were a team on momentum that was barely getting by, I think, to a lot of people. They were a team that was a bit fraudulent in a lot of people's minds. So I think the Bills are going to come in and they're going to do what they need to do to win, and they will win despite anything. And the Broncos are going to get sent home. What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah. Well, fun fact, there's only been one time since the 70s.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly, but in the 70s, so a long, long time, that the number one seed has been an underdog
Oh,
in the
wow.
playoffs. So this is the second time
Wow.
in 50 years, we'll call it,
Yeah.
that the number one seed and now the bye week the team is actually an underdog at home, and they're playing not just they're playing a 6 seed in the Buffalo Bills, and so that right there is sort of a fun fact, which tells you what the odds makers think about what the Bills are
Yeah.
doing, and sort of where we're at with the Broncos. And I have in mind the entire season have called Denver a fraud.
Yep.
I think that a couple pods ago, which is now quite a while, but a couple pods ago, I sort of had to concede a little bit
You backed
that
up.
Denver actually, I mean, they're winning. So I mean, I don't always believe in what my eyes are telling me.
Yeah.
But at 14-3, which were the end of the season, I sort of had to concede that they are really good. Their defense second only to the Texans in
Mhm.
overall defense, and their quarterback is still developing, but looks decent.
He's
And
keeping them
but
afloat.
it looks like the people making the odds in Vegas doesn't think so. That they're putting more in what you're saying, to what your point, that Buffalo will actually win this game. And I sort of lean that way myself. I think that Buffalo definitely has the quarterback advantage, and I think that's sort of where it starts and ends when we talk about why the Buffalo Bills are going to win. I think
their
that
offense, yeah.
he just has the ability all by himself, that singular person, Josh Allen, the quarterback for Bills, to
Yes, he
put
does.
that team on his back and take over a game. And I certainly don't want to take anything away from the Denver Broncos. Certainly not that awesome defense.
That defense is
But I don't
talented,
know.
yeah.
I just don't know that that Knicks and that offense for the Broncos is going to have enough to even overcome. And that's just what I think of Josh Allen. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, if I had to say, if there's a team that I'm rooting for, and it's not because I like the Bills, and it's not because I want I don't. What I will say is this though, he has lost some pretty terrible playoff games the last couple seasons, and
He's
he is one of those talents that I just don't want to see play an entire career as good as he is
Without getting
and
one?
not win a championship, because it will taint his record.
Yeah, well.
And I really want to see him get this, and I'm not going to hold it against him that Patrick Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar and some of those players aren't in there, because there's still Stafford's in there, and there's still some really good teams.
There are.
And
there
so
are still,
if I have a rooting interest, it's that one singular player, and just because I'd like to see him, I think he's good for the game. I think he's a phenomenal football player, and I think that he's just somebody that I think that if I was going to root for a singular player outside of the players on my team, he's one of the guys that I would root for.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think, going into the playoffs, the Bills and the Jags were my two teams that I wanted to go all the way. So the winner of that first game was
yeah,
really what I wanted personally.
yeah,
Yeah, Josh
hmm
Allen has really had a rough time in the playoffs, and the story's always, oh well, he had to play Patrick Mahomes or he had to play Lamar Jackson, right? And this is the first time he hasn't had to play either of those two guys because both of them aren't in the playoffs. So like in theory, right? If we want to go with what the media says, the Bills and Josh Allen should run through these playoffs and win the Super Bowl because Josh Allen's chains have finally been unshackled, right? But,
yeah,
he's playing a really good defense, right? The Broncos are a very
yes,
talented defense, and I
yeah.
believe Sean Payton mentioned Nick Bonito is playing this week. Wasn't he hurt? And he's back?
I think Benito's playing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they have any serious injuries.
It was, yeah, there was some question, but either way, that defense is insane, and Josh Allen has not had a solid all the way through playoff performance yet. One way or another, these playoffs are gonna end, and I think Josh Allen's still gonna get catch some flack. One way or he's either gonna win the Super Bowl and then they're gonna go, well, he didn't have to play anybody real, or he's gonna
Right.
lose and then they're gonna say, well, he didn't play anybody real, so he sucks, which sucks for him because he really does deserve his flowers. And I hope the Bills come in and wipe the Broncos. But a very, very wise man once told me that offense wins games, but defense does win championships. So if we want to play off of that, Broncos should, in theory, win this game. Now, I agree though. I think the Bills are gonna win. I don't see how you stop Josh Allen, at least not right now.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. And that again, there's probably stats, and we just don't do stats like crazy.
No.
But there are probably stats that if somebody sat down and you could just stat crazy and beat me over the head with stats that show me why Denver's going to win. But I think I'm still leaning towards that as a 14-3 team. I'm just not a believer.
Yeah.
And I am going to put my fate in this case in the better of the two quarterbacks.
hmm
And a team with some momentum. And I do think that you're right. There is something to be said for a team, especially a younger team, a
Yeah.
younger quarterback who has to take that bye. That's not necessarily always great.
hmm
And so I've got my pick as the Bills, not only as I actually think they're going to win. And Vegas has them favored, I think at 3. It might have moved to 3.5, which that's not a 1 or a 1 point. That means that they think they're actually going to win by a fair amount.
Yeah,
And
3.5.
Vegas does.
So
That's more than
shocking.
that's a field goal or more, which means that that's a decent play there. So that's both my sentimental pick as well as who I actually think will win. And going forward, that'll probably continue to be who I'd like to see win.
Yeah.
Where do you
I
want to
agree.
go? Where do you want to go next? So sticking in the AFC, so we got what, Texans
Yeah,
at Patriots?
actually, let's do Texans at Patriots because I think the Texans are going to win this game. I'm going to flip the script. All right. I
Okay.
think the best defense in the NFL is going to come out and show out. And I think you're going to disagree with me, but I do want to see a defensive team come in and compete. And the Texans are that defensive team. They don't win
Oh, they're there.
against the Steelers on Monday night unless that fucking defense plays its heart out. They had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they had a scoop and score and a
pick
pick
six.
six.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like I would like to see the defense win a championship, and if I'm going to see a team that isn't the Bills win this championship, I would love to see the Texans win, and I do think the Texans are going to win this game. We're gonna go back to it. I think CJ Stroud has more experience in the playoffs. He has more experience as a quarterback, right? He's been in the league longer.
Yes.
And although that offense has had a very rough season, their job is all they have to do is not lose the game for their team. I think their defense will do its job and do it well. The Patriots are hot, they're exciting, and they're fun, but they only scored 16 points against the Chargers last week.
So you're taking a page going all the way back to Baltimore when they won the Super Bowl
I am
because their
taking a
defense was
page.
so good in spite of the Dilfer at quarterback and that terrible offense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's rare. I think it hasn't happened in over 20 years, right? But I do think this defense is really, really good. They're
I
super
agree.
good.
I agree. They are really, really good. And they are the reason that the Texans won that beat the Steelers, and which is sort of silly because the Steelers are not very good
Steelers
this
suck.
last week in the playoffs.
Yep.
However, here's where I'll push back a little bit, and I
Okay.
don't know that I wholeheartedly disagree with you on this, on your play on that, is this. CJ Stroud
Sucks.
has more experience. Although I'm going to say, as of where we stand right now, Drake May is a better quarterback than CJ
So much
Stroud.
better.
Drake
I
May
agree.
quarterback for the Patriots.
Yeah, current
And
MVP leader.
the game last week that the Texans beat the Steelers was, I believe, tied at the end of the third quarter. And CJ Stroud
No.
accounted for. It was very close if they weren't tied. And it was. I turned the game
Texans
off.
were up by a tutty.
They were up by a touchdown. Okay.
Yes.
It was still a close game going into the fourth quarter. And CJ Stroud, the quarterback for the Texans, had 3 turnovers. He had 2 fumbles and an interception. He was basically trying to give that game to the Steelers, but they're so inept, the Steelers were on offense, that they couldn't score at all. And part of that is that the Texans defense is phenomenal.
Yeah.
However, I
am going to take a step back, by the way. I'm going to take a step back. It was
Patriots
not. It was 7-6. It was 7-6 going into the fourth.
So it was basically
they scored
tied.
all 3 of their touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Yes, and I mean, and CJ Stroud looked absolutely terrible. I mean, I thought he was going to give that game away until the fourth quarter, and really, quite frankly, it wasn't about the Texans' offense. It had nothing to do with CJ Stroud winning that game.
No,
you know, they had that scoop and score on a sack, and they had a pick six, and so the Texans are so good on defense. I don't know if CJ Stroud can get out of his own way and not give this game away. And the Patriots are a far better team than the Steelers are. And I think that the Patriots did not look great last week in their win over the Chargers in their first playoff game. But I do think that was a game they needed to play for a quarterback in his second year in the league and his first year in the time in the playoffs, and a young team to sort of get together, which might speak a little bit to the bye week thing that you're talking about. They didn't have the bye week. Yeah. They got to play that first game. They got to kind of understand what it takes. Drake May, the quarterback for the Pats, can now settle down a little bit and be a little bit more back to what we've seen him in the regular season, which has been a phenomenal. I don't think that they were, a potential NFL MVP of the league, and it's just his second year. And so I don't know that I'm even at this point, as we speak now, want to even pick that one.
Well, okay. Because I have some stats that I'd like to bring up because I think these are important to bring up. So CJ Stroud and Drake May both threw for around 250 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and they both had about the same completion percentage in that game. Drake May was the leading rusher.
Their games last week.
Yes. Drake May was the leading rusher for his team with 66 yards, and the leading receiver was Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots.
Running back.
Yes, so the Patriots' game plan last week was very short game, run game focused, which I think the Texans will stuff if they continue to do that.
There's not been one running back who's ran for over 75 yards against the Texans this year.
Exactly, right? So the Texans will stop that. So they need to get the ball down the field, right? And I'm not saying Drake May can't, because he's very clearly proven he can. But when you have a defensive line or when you have a defense that's holding the run game to such low numbers and they're playing that good, it makes it a lot easier to cover the passing game. Again, I agree. I do think momentum's huge, and I think Drake May getting that momentum is huge. Having that one win is awesome for him. But if they cannot establish a run game in this game, which they couldn't do it last week against the Chargers, it's going to be a rough game for them. And yes, CJ Stroud did almost throw that game away for his team, but CJ Stroud didn't. And he did throw for a touchdown pass, and he did keep his team alive enough for the defense to carry him. And that's all he needs to do, because that's all I'm saying he needs to do, right? As long as that defense can show up and do what that defense does week in, week out, CJ Stroud just needs to hand the ball off and complete some short passes, and they should be fine. But yeah, the stats are similar for both quarterbacks going into this week. And And it really is, I do think, a tale of the defenses. And with how the Pats played last week, their game plan ain't going to work going into the Texans this week. So they need to change it up, which I think they will. Vrabel's a great coach. All right, next thing. Let's go to the NFC. Niners at Seahawks. Huge game.
Yeah. So real quick, NFC, 3 teams from one division are still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
and I'd argue that they're the best 3 teams in the NFL. They're the best 3 teams in the NFL.
I've said for now several months that the winner of the Super Bowl is going to come out of the NFC.
Yeah.
That's the better league or conference.
Yeah.
So,
who knew it was just going to come out of the NFC
We got
West?
49ers. Yeah, exactly. What do we got? 49ers at the Seahawks?
Yeah, this is going to be crazy.
Man.
So
yeah, it is.
I think the biggest story really is Sam Darnold here. This is a Sam Darnold story. Sam Darnold, as far as I know, hasn't played more than a game in the playoffs, has he? Outside of losing the one game with Minnesota last year?
Because he only made the playoffs once, so that was with Minnesota.
Yeah. So it's really going to be about Sam Darnold. It's a similar story to the Broncos in a way of quarterback who has very little playoff experience getting a bye week and playing out of it. Now, San Francisco is super talented. They have lost George Kittle. He's gone for good. But hey, when has Seattle or San Francisco let an injury hold them back? They haven't let that happen to him this year. So I really do think it's gonna be can Sam Darnold get his head out of the gutter and maybe not see any ghosts this week, which he hasn't so far this season.
Knock it off. That was so long ago.
But that's the truth.
Hold
right?
on.
That's my thoughts.
And hold on. Comparing Sam Darnold to Bo Nix is apples to oranges.
No.
Nix,
Again,
they're both. You're right. Limited playoff experience, both coming off the bye weeks. But Sam Darnold's been in the league for a really long time, and quite frankly, the Jets, the Panthers. I mean, he's really only
they were jokes.
Coming to his own last couple of years.
But
and that's I'm a big Sam Darnold fan. So
I know
I'm
you are. I know you're a USC fan. I know.
I've been
and
Darnold
I'm a big
fan
Sam Darnold fan too. I like Sam Darnold. My comparison was more so quarterback with very little playoff experience, the same amount of playoff experience as Bo Nix. It got a bye week, and he has proven time and time again that he is a good quarterback and that he can be a good quarterback. But when we get to the end of the season, he's started to stumble a bit, and we haven't seen that happen yet this year. And I don't know if it will happen. But the Niners are a good team with a really good experience. They go far in the playoffs every year. Shanahan knows how to coach a playoff football team. So it really is the story of, is Sam Darnold going to step up to the plate? Because I think the Seahawks are a better football team. I do.
So do I. The 49ers have the best coaching staff, hands down, or have done the best coaching job on both sides of the ball than anybody ever all time almost. That's a little bit hyperbolic, but they are, I mean, to have the decimation and now on both sides of the ball and just throughout the year, maybe they didn't lose somebody for the entire year, but the amount of time that they've lost significant players, Trent Williams, their left tackle, and now Kittle's gone, and all the defensive players they've lost for Rob Saleh, their defensive coordinator, to be doing what he's doing, it's just phenomenal. Insane. And at some point, is that going to run out? And I think that it will hinge on the play of Sam Darnold. The Seahawks are a phenomenal team. They're great on defense, and their weapons on offense are insane. And Sam Darnold has played like he has the last couple of years, lights out. He has had a few struggles this year in Seattle, who he was picked up by the defense, so that's awesome. But I do think this will come down to, this is sort of a make or break. And so I hope that, sort of to your point, with the limited experience in the playoffs and sort of with some of Sam Darnold's struggles in the past, that this doesn't prove to be too big a moment for him and that he doesn't crumble, because I really do root for him. Yeah. But this really is I think it's going to come down to, did Sam Darnold play a good game? And I think if he plays the kind of game that he's proven in the last 2 regular seasons, certainly last year in the Vikings, that they're going to win the game, because I just think they're a better team and they're way less hurt team. Yeah. they have all their players. And I think that they are the better team. but you can't tell me anybody's going to be coached better. And
Nobody will. Yeah.
the Niners lost Kittle last week in I think the beginning or middle of the second quarter.
Yeah. Towards ACL.
And the 49ers were still able to then recover from that because Kittle's a huge part of their offense.
Massive. Tight ends are so important.
Recover from that and still win that game against the Eagles. So with a week to game plan and put more of the wrinkles and more of the things that Shanahan does into the offense, I don't know.
Well,
I do think that the Seahawks are just a better team.
Here's another big thing. The last team the Seattle Seahawks played was the 49ers. They ended
and they played in 2 of the last 3 games, something like that. Didn't they play?
No, that was their last game of the season. Last
game.
But
didn't they also? I thought they played 2 of the last 3 weeks also of the last season. How were the 49ers and the Seahawks? Didn't they play like their last?
No, they played them earlier in the year. The story.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, what you're thinking about is the Niners played this. Yeah, it's just the Niners played the Seahawks and the Bears. I don't know. But yes, the last game of the NFL season was those 2 teams. Okay. They played each other to end the season. So Seattle is literally, for the last month, been game planning only for one team. So that's another fun thing to think about, is that all Seattle has had to think about is the 49ers. That's all they're thinking about, which could be a really huge advantage to them, in all honesty. But we'll see. I think the edge goes to Seattle, but it really is up to Sam Darnold. It is. If Sam Darnold has a rough game, it could end up looking like that overtime game that Seattle played against the Rams in early December, where it comes down to a one point difference because Sam Darnold had an iffy game. So we'll see. Last game of the NFL divisional round. The Rams at the Bears. Man, what am I going to say about this game other than I really don't want the Bears to win it? Yeah, I mean, the Bears have found a way to win games over and over and over and over again. Just when you think they don't have a single chance at winning a game, the game ends in a blink of an eye and the Bears are on top. I do not think the Bears are comparable to the Los Angeles Rams in any way. I think the Rams are a better coach team. I think the Rams have more talent. It's shocking to me. And I'm not trying to put the Bears down because they've had an amazing season and they're phenomenal and they've done a great job. But they're the frauds of the NFC, in my opinion. I haven't seen them win a game where they looked like they should have. They dominated the game and they looked so good. And so I'm not really sure how to feel about it, other than I think the Rams are probably going to put an end to this Bears spree. What are your thoughts, sir?
So the Rams, when you think about it, when you have a team like a West Coast team like the Rams, who's going to travel across the country and go play in what is going to be in between an 8 to 21 degree
cold game,
windy, cold, blustery day in Chicago, you would tend to lean towards, well, the Bears have the advantage. And I actually do still think they do. However, their entire team has also played in other places. You have Stafford, who played in Detroit, which meant he played in Chicago and Green Bay several times. Mm-hmm. Yep. And you have, wide receiver. Blanking on it. I don't know why. Devontae, oh my gosh, completely perfect there. Devontae Adams played a large portion of his career in Green Bay, and they've got some other pieces that have played around the league, and I never really use that. To me, you play in the NFL, and if you can't get yourself right for a couple hours to play in whatever weather it is, then you're not worth your weight in what they're paying you anyways. Mm-hmm. And so I don't really lean towards that, and I would agree that the Rams are the better team. And just in that, however, the dadgum Bears have found some way, and I'm not sure that I agree with you. I'm not sure that I agree with you that the coaching differential wise is that significantly different.
Really?
I think McVay is certainly well. I certainly think that McVay, the head coach for the Rams, has done it for longer.
Yeah, and
has a very, very proven track record, not only in his ability to coach his teams, but to build leaders and other coaches that are spread out all over the NFL.
Yeah.
But I would challenge you that he's not being outcoached significantly in this game, and that Ben Johnson the coach for the Bears, is actually in large part, if not
Oh, he's
I would say overwhelming reason why the Bears
he is
are
the
where they're
reason
at.
the Bears are where they are
Yeah.
right now. The
Yeah,
decisions
and
he has made
so
have been the reason. Yeah.
yeah, and so I mean, just in longevity, I would have to say, yeah, McVay does get a nod as far as the coaching edge there. But I don't think as significant as you say.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of good pieces on the Bears. They're going to have home field and they're going to be playing in weather, which, we'll see how much that plays into it. I think if it was in LA, I'd have a really kind of easier time of saying I think LA will win.
Yeah.
Just because they've been there before. I think this is a definitely for the Bears in their season that they've had. As far as they've gotten, this is a win for them.
It's a huge win. Yeah. This is an awesome turnaround
Yeah,
for them. So here's
right. Yeah.
my
So
here's my closing thoughts on the Bears. And it's going to be the same conversation I think we've had about every game so far, and it is going to come down to quarterbacks in this case. And I do not think Caleb Williams is the quarterback that's going to lead the Bears to a Super Bowl run. I don't. I think Caleb Williams has been too iffy this whole year, and Ben Johnson's job truly has been, how do I keep Caleb Williams from shooting himself in the foot? And last week, Caleb Williams didn't shoot his team in the foot. He did, although throw 2 interceptions. So, this is comparison wise, right? This is they're the Texans of the NFC on the NFC side, right? They're a team whose defense is really talented, who is kind of keeping this offense afloat because, without Ben Johnson, this offense falls apart, right? And we've seen time and time again throughout the season, Ben Johnson has tried to throw in his little Ben Johnson flair, and when he throws in his Ben Johnson flair, usually the plays blow up and fall apart, right? They have a hard time running anything that isn't what is very simple and given to them, and that's why I think this team will not fare well against the Rams, who are a well-coached team defensively and offensively, because you got to throw some flair at them. And if you don't throw some flair at them, you're going to fall apart.
I think if you put up on the board, quarterback matchup, who wins it? Probably the Rams. Offensive line matchup, maybe the Bears.
But it's very close.
Running back production, running backs, Rams. Wide receivers, probably Rams with Nakua and Devontae, right? Tight ends, I think across the board, the tight ends, although Chicago's got 2 good ones, I think if you watch the production and what's happened for the Rams, you put tight ends as Rams, right?
Yeah.
Kicking, you go down the board, most of the check marks are going to be on the Rams side, and would be the anti Caleb Williams fan. We'll just leave it at that. Because at this point in the season, we're not going to go into my feelings about.
There's only one USC quarterback we want to see in the Super Bowl. All right, there's only one USC quarterback we want to see.
Yeah, and I got a lot of things I could talk about Caleb Williams, but the fact of the matter is when you look at his completion percentage and a lot of his stats, they're not great. They're significantly improved this year with Ben Johnson, but they're still not great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day and at the end of the games, and when he needs to make a throw or when he needs to do something, I'll be damned if he doesn't do it. And so this is one of those games where all the check marks might be in the Rams' favor. And I'm still going to start that game going, I don't know, man. I'm just not sure.
It's the story of the fucking Bears all year, right? This is just the Bears story.
It is, and I think it's part of Caleb Williams, to be honest with you.
Only one team had the Bears number this whole season, and that was the Detroit Lions, and they lost. They didn't even make it to the playoffs. So, I do believe that it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a close one. I do think the Rams are going to eke them out. All right.
I would like to commend you on sneaking in a Detroit Lions reference while we're discussing the playoffs.
For as long as I can, I'm going to say it.
And they're nowhere near the playoffs, but I like how you snuck that guy right on.
As long as I can. I will say this. I am acting off of a little bit of emotion. My mother did call me right before we started this, and she had the audacity to say, I'm kind of rooting for the Bears this year. And I went, what the fuck are you talking about right now? And then I said, if you want to root for an underdog, root for the Texans and nobody else. We don't root for the Bears as Lions fans. So
No comment from this side of the table. No comment. Okay, moving on.
let's move on. All right. We're done talking games. We're done talking teams that are still in it. Let's talk teams that aren't still in it. And by that, I mean, let's talk about this coaching carousel. We've got some crazy shit happening this week. Some crazy shit.
We have
Where
a
do you
lot
wanna
of stuff.
start? Where do you want to start, Dad? Recent stuff? Past stuff? Where do you want to go from here?
So every year, you're going to get between 6 and 8 new head coaches. Generally, in that ballpark, you might get 7, you might get 6. Eight's a high end. And after the end of this playoffs, well, as of Monday, after the Steelers lost yesterday, it was Mike Tomlin, the head coach for the Steelers for the last 19 years, decided to step away from coaching. So we are at an all-time high. I don't know about all-time high, but certainly above average in 9 head coaches that are 9 teams that are looking for head coaches.
Yeah.
As we sit right now, none of those spots have been filled.
0.
They are teams that I'm sure waiting to talk to, maybe potentially 1 or 2 that are still in the playoffs because they're not allowed to talk to those coaches. And so we got a little bit of potential things still happening there. However, there are a couple of ginormous names that are no longer head coaches of their prospective teams. We'll start, I think, with 2 of the biggest ones. John Harbaugh, the coach for the Baltimore Ravens for the last 18 years, had a phenomenal record of 180 and 113 in the regular season and has 1 Super Bowl ring. Was actually let go. He did not leave on his own, I don't think.
On a phone call, they said bye.
On a phone call after 18 years, they said, thanks. It's been a pleasure having you here, and we're going to go a different direction after this year.
Yeah.
Which I think came down to picking the quarterback, Lamar Jackson, over keeping the head coach, John Harbaugh. And so that was – I don't think that was a surprise. I think it's sort of been something that's been gone back and forth. And then the way the season ended, I mean, the season was pretty terrible for them anyways, but then the way the season ended, not making the playoffs, I think that just sort of is writing on the wall.
I think since basically week 2 of the NFL season, we as a whole have discussed time and time again, if the Ravens don't get their heads out of their asses and find their way in the playoffs, John Harbaugh is gone.
I think you just saw stuff throughout the year, and certainly as you look back, and you just saw the disconnect between Lamar Jackson, their quarterback, and him, sort of not being on the same page. I mean, Lamar being sick or hurt, John or Harbaugh not knowing about it or seemingly not knowing what the status was, which is sort of weird. If your head coach doesn't know what your starting quarterback's deal is, and just sort of a lot of a disconnect there, whether that was intentional that they separated themselves or it just was a growing apart, whatever it was. But I think the nail in the coffin for him was the article that came out a few weeks back, sort of challenging or suggesting that Lamar Jackson was sleeping in meetings and not doing the prep that needs to be done. And so I think that just showed that there was just a disconnect there. So surprised, not surprised on that, but you just look at somebody tenured like that for 18 years and it's just sort of like, ooh.
Whoa. Yeah. Nobody's safe. Yeah.
No, nobody's safe. And so, I mean, between him and then the next one, well, just because of the tenure alone, Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach for 19 years. The Steelers have only had 3 head coaches in like 60 plus years. He actually stepped away. And I think that, again, it's just another one of those. I've thought about this a fair amount. That's a long time, 18, 19 years to be the head of whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you're the head of a company of any kind. And that's certainly basically what you're running. You're running a company, a business as the leader of a football team. And that's just a long time to have a voice, to have a long time to go to that same building every day, not only for yourself, but for the people around you to continue to be motivated. And so in fairness, I'll just say Tomlin's record over 19 years was 193 wins, 114 losses, 2 ties. He was only 8-12 in the playoffs. He did go to 2 Super Bowls and they won 1.
Yep.
But they haven't won a playoff game in like 7 times. And in 19 years, he was never below 500.
Never
they
below
always
500.
made the playoffs. That meant they never drafted high, which means they never. And in both the cases, both of those head coaches are what would be described as a CEO head coach, which means that they're overseeing
They did
everything. They're
everything.
culture guys.
Yep.
They're culture guys. They're more the guys that are building sort of a Dan Campbell sort of a guy. Although I think Dan Campbell for the Lions is also a little more X's and O's than those guys.
Yeah.
But they were culture builders,
Yeah.
and that means that if you don't have the right quarterback and you don't have the right coordinators, you're not going to find a lot of success. And I just think after 18, 19 years for both those guys, I think it's good. It's good for those teams, those organizations. And also, I think it's phenomenal because we're going to get to see those guys go and coach somewhere else and sort of see what happens. You know, how good, is it proven that they can go do these things on other teams as well?
Yeah.
Selfishly, I'm not going to, my team, who's also looking for a coach, which we'll go over in a minute, is not going to get either one of those coaches. But,
No. Well, I mean,
so those are the two big ones. I think Tomlin. I don't think either one was a surprise, but it was also kind of like until it was said, it was kind of like, oh, is it going to happen? And when it did, it's kind of like, oh man.
Well, let's discuss it then real quick. Okay, so we have the two big head coaches who've walked away. Let's talk about some other coaches who are gone, right? You've got Kevin Stefanski, you've got Mike McDaniel. Those are the two other, I would say, big name head coaches that will probably have another job that's either potentially a head coaching position or a sought after coordinator position. From there, I don't think any other head coach that was fired is probably going to have a head coaching job or has a chance at it.
No, so we'll discuss those two in a little more detail in a second. So you have the Cardinals who lost Gannon.
Yep.
Who was who was the coordinator? I'm sorry, I think defensive coordinator. Yeah, defensive coordinator for the Eagles 3 years ago, after they won the Super Bowl. The Cardinals picked him up. He had zero success. He was 15-36 over 3 years. I don't think he's going to get another head coach job. He may, but I don't. Not in this cycle. So I don't think he's going to. You had the Titans. Brian Callahan. He only lasted a year and a half for the Titans.
Yeah.
He was 4-19. He will not get another chance. So you had let's see. You had Brian Daboll for the Giants, who got his opportunity with the Giants because of the job he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
A few years back, that's how he got that job there. But over 3.5 years, he was a total of 20 wins, 40 losses, and and one tie, and he was 1-1 in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think he might get another shot, maybe in this cycle as a head coach. Probably more likely as an offensive coordinator for a team.
Yeah.
But who knows? And then you've got Raheem Morris for the Falcons, and the Falcons ended the season, I think, on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, they did really good at the end.
And we're playing really, really good. And he only lasted a couple years or 3 years at 16 wins, 18 losses. And I think he was a little bit of a surprise fire just because of the way the Falcons had closed the season out.
Had been eliminated from the playoffs before they went on a win streak like that. Their wins meant nothing, right? Other than maybe Raheem Morris's job. But they were one of the first teams eliminated from the playoffs, which is kind of crazy. But yeah.
But then to still get 4 wins in a row or have the closing out the way they did, knowing they weren't going to be in the playoffs?
Let's think, just to talk deeper on him. Going into the season, I think every talking head had the Falcons as a top 3 football team in their heads. They thought they were going to be super amazing. They thought they were going to be phenomenal football team, scoring points left, right, and center.
They've got the pieces and parts to, yeah.
Exactly, and they didn't do it, right? So I think that's if you're sitting there, you're like, why is our head coach not utilizing the phenomenal talent we have while we still have it? Because Bijan's gonna be gone, or is gonna want money soon, and a lot of these players are gonna need money soon. So I can see why they dropped him, but yeah, I mean,
and then
there's one more,
and then last, yeah, there is. And then last but not least, Pete Carroll for the Raiders.
Sorry, forgot about him.
I
would say last
was very hopeful as a culture builder that even at his ripe age of 74 was going to be able to come in and put some nice culture in place. And man, from the outside looking in with the head coaching staff that started and the parts and pieces, there was some questions on the offensive line. There was some questions in the back end of the defense. But to be 3-14 and look like absolute garbage, it is a complete cleaning house in the Raiders as well.
Yep.
And on that note, the Raiders have had 5 head coaches in the last 10 years, and that does not include the interim head coaches. So that's 5 head coaches. And I will start there with my hope or thoughts about who will take some of these spots.
Okay.
I would really, really, really love. We actually missed one and we're going to talk about it right now. Maybe we didn't. Stefanski, did we talk about the
I
Browns?
brought Stefanski up. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
in my hope and dreams of things in the landscape, I don't know every coordinator, or I don't know a ton about every coordinator that's going to be interviewing for jobs right now. My hope is outside of Harbaugh and Tomlin, and maybe even above Tomlin, I would really, 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 really like it if the Raiders hired Kevin Stefanski from the Browns.
Yeah.
He is a two-time Coach of the Year in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
He is the only one to take the Browns to a playoff win in I don't even know how long, 25 years or something crazy like that. He is an offensive guy.
Yep.
Who is awesome with quarterbacks, young quarterbacks in particular. And I would really like to see that happen. And the only way I even see that happening, by the graces of God, Harbaugh got fired. And so I think the Giants, who would love to have him as well, might take Harbaugh instead. And so I don't know the chances on Stefanski coming there because, quite frankly, the word on the street is that they're leaning towards the defensive coordinator for the Vikings.
Oh, they're leaning towards Brian Flores?
Brian Flores, who was who has one time a head coach for the Miami Dolphins a few years back, but he is a defensive head coach, and I don't want a defensive head coach. One. And two, the way that he left Miami was he basically got fired because he's not a nice guy and was not a good culture guy.
Yeah, didn't like him.
I don't need that. The Raiders don't need that. They don't need that. And I don't want, and I'm not saying that he can't have made changes, but like I said, the first thing that I don't like about it is I don't want a defensive coordinator. I don't want a defensive head coach. I want an offensive head coach.
Well, here's my thoughts, if I can add them. What about a third coaching option? What about a guy that the Raiders already have under contract? What about a guy by the name of John Gruden? Thoughts on John Gruden being the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders? Bring him out there, dude.
And I know why you're saying it. They're still paying him.
They're paying
for the last time he coached.
He can't.
He was
coach
one
an
of the
NFL
five.
team unless the Raiders say he can go to somebody else. Have him coach your team again.
Yes, he was one of the 5 coaches from the last 10 years. He was let go unceremoniously for things that had nothing to do with the team. I don't think that's a realistic possibility. Would I have a problem with taking Gruden back? No, I personally wouldn't. But
I think the Raiders
I don't think that's real.
In the last 10 years, the Raiders have looked their best when John Gruden was coaching them.
Yeah, I agree. I like Gruden.
So
I liked him his first time around.
But if you don't get him, I agree. I think the Raiders need an offensive head coach.
And so that's what I want. Nothing, I guess, personal against Flores. I just want an offensive-minded head coach. When you look at when you just go down the list, there's nine teams fired their coaches this year. Okay, Cardinals was a defensive coach. The Ravens was a defensive coach. The Steelers was a defensive coach. The Falcons was a defensive coach. The Raiders was a defensive coach.
Yeah.
The only two that I know for a fact were offensive coaches were Daboll and Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure on Brian Callahan.
McDaniel.
However.
Mike McDaniel.
Oh, McDaniel. Yeah. Guy. So at any rate, I'd like to see an offensive coach come in.
I agree.
As far as I don't know anything about the Steelers or who the Ravens are looking for. I mean, if you look at the jobs that are the best out of those teams, I'd say probably the Ravens is the best job.
No.
Just because of a quarterback in place, while I'm not as high on Lamar Jackson as most people are, it's just the ownership of that team has always been good, and the parts and pieces around that have always been good, and so I think that's probably the number one job. I think the Giants' job's a good job.
I think the Giants' job is the best job. Hands down.
You really? I mean, they've got the young quarterback that Jackson Dart's good, and they've got a lot of the pieces we talked about, Scadaboo, and they're phenomenal on the defensive line, and they're a really good offensive line.
I think the Giants.
They've just got a lot of good stuff.
The Giants are just a younger, more enticing version of the Ravens.
Yeah, and that's why I think Harbaugh's
going there. That's why Harbaugh's going there.
I think that's why. Yeah, that's why I think Harbaugh's going to get it. And the other part too is, Harbaugh's does not want to be in the AFC anymore because
Doesn't
he
want to
doesn't
coach
want
with
to
his
coach with his
brother.
brother Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And so that makes a lot of sense. So I think my order is the Ravens and then the Giants,
Yep.
and then you could argue that the Steelers are a great job, although the Steelers. Somebody needs to take the Steelers and just take next season and just lose on purpose.
Yeah, and gut that whole team.
Quietly tank,
That
and so they can get a top pick.
That entire team is old guys who are on fringe contracts, who are on 1 to 2 year contracts. Get rid of it. Clean house, dude. Clean house. Build that team back up again.
But the Steelers have 5 picks in the first 100 picks this draft. But there's none of them that are super high. So whoever they hire needs to know they're going to have a long runway.
Yeah.
They're going to have a ton of picks this year to begin the rebuild, and then next year tank, and then get a top pick for the next year so you can get a quarterback. Yeah. I don't know. That's just me spitballing. But I think the Steelers is a good job, again, because of ownership. If you're a head coach, that's a great job because you're going to have at least 15 years, 15 to 20 years.
In theory, you should, if you do a good job.
They're never going to fire. They didn't fire the last head coach. He quit.
They didn't fire this head coach either.
Oh, Bill Cowher walked away.
Yeah, but Cowher did a good job, and Tomlin did a good job. If the next guy they hire sucks, they're gonna get rid of him, right? You got to do a good job.
I don't know. Does anybody do a bad job? The Steelers just don't ever lose.
Let's just go down the list then, right? I'm gonna start with the Cardinals real quick and easy. I think the Cardinals are gonna hire Saleh. I think that's the guy that they've been talking about frequently about the Cardinals. I think
Bob Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers,
I do think Robert Saleh is going to get a coaching job again. I don't think he should have a coaching job. I don't think he should have a coaching job, but I think he's going to get the Cardinals job. Yes.
He's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. He does not do a great job as a head coach.
Insanely talented defensive coordinator, and I think he's one of the guys who is going to get another job because he is clearly on a team, coaching a team that is, despite everything not going their way, still winning, right? So there's clearly something to the guy. And I think he just had the unfortunate, he made the unfortunate mistake to coach the Jets. Yeah. I think he made the unfortunate mistake to coach for the Jets. I think give him another chance with another team. All right? Sam Darnold.
You got Bob Saleh.
So I think Saleh is going to be a coach somewhere. I don't think he's going to be a coach for a team that's in a good position. I think he's going to be a coach for a team that's rough, right? And the Cardinals are rough.
And I think Harbaugh's going to the Giants.
Harbaugh's going to the Giants, right? And let's entertain the idea. Let's say, hey, Stefanski's going to go to the Raiders because I like Stefanski and the Raiders. I like that. I think
he is, but I hope so, man.
I like that. All right. Now here's a thought that I have. I think that Tomlin is not going to coach an NFL team next year. I think he is going to enjoy not having to coach for a year, and then maybe he'll pick up a job next year. But I think Tomlin won't be coaching next year. So let's remove Tomlin from even being a coach for a team next year.
Let's put a pin real quick on that. I just want to discuss that real quickly. If Tomlin doesn't coach next year, what do you see him doing next year? Is he sitting on a beach, sucking on Mai Tais?
Yeah, dude. This guy had 0 losing seasons. He never coached a game where his team didn't score points. He's insane. Enjoy your time off, dude. Come back when you want to come back because any team will gladly take you. But take a year off, dude.
Now he quit and was not fired. And so the rules are a little different for him as far as most of these coaches that get fired, they keep collecting their paychecks, and or what will happen is that when they get with another team, it sort of affects how the money goes. He walked away, which means that the Pittsburgh Steelers still own his rights. Mm-hmm. And so he's got a little bit of a different situation than almost every other coach.
Yeah, because he's
on this, because he walked away. But you don't think he's gonna do the broadcasting thing? You don't think he's gonna either do games or do a studio show or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think he's gonna do what Vrabel did.
I think everybody in their because I think everybody and their mother thinks that because he's already got offers from the studio, from all the networks.
From every NFL team in the league that needs a coach. He's got offers from probably every studio, right? Like everybody wants him, but I do think he's going to take a break. I do. I think he can take a break.
I would lean towards where you're at now. He's so young. He was 36 when he got the job for the Steelers. and he did 18 years. So he's in his early 50s.
Yeah.
And so he's got a long runway still left. I would lean towards you as well. I don't think he's going to take, he's not going to go and do what Brady did or any of these other guys who are now, game analysts and make that his next career. I can see him doing similar to what Sean Payton did 2 years ago, which was he basically popped on like the Cowherds show once a week and did a segment on Cowherd's show and talked about football. He was a regular on Fox, but didn't really do much more than that. But that was sort of his time commitment and just really showed what a big brain he was.
Yeah.
And all the things. And then that was it as he sort of kind of recouped and revamped and took that year off. I could see him doing that. I don't see him sitting on a beach sucking Mai Tais and hanging out.
He's probably not going to leave football entirely, but I don't think he's taking a job to do anything. I think he's just going to...
Okay, so you don't think he's going to take another head coach. You think he's going to take a year off and see what opens up next year?
Yeah.
Because it's so funny. It's so funny.
We can't...
Everybody says there's no good jobs. What good jobs are there? Well, no shit. You got fired.
Yeah.
None of the teams are great.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's going to the Super Bowl that fires their coach and they have a great team. All the teams suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it cracks me up, all these guys.
The thing is, though, right? Like, Vrabel took a year off because he knew he was going to be the head coach of the New England Patriots, right?
That's
why Vrabel took a year off, right? I don't think
yeah.
Tomlin has that, right? I don't think there is a team who is iffy right now who Tomlin is interested in and they might make a deal. I think Tomlin is going to take a break and an opportunity is going to present itself. There's always going to be a team at the end of every year like the Giants, right? That is enticing. That is a job that you might want, right? And I don't think Tomlin's getting the Giants job. I don't think Tomlin would be good for the Giants job, but next year there might be a very solid team that would fit perfectly for Tomlin, and so Tomlin might take it. But for now, I don't think Tomlin wants anything, right? I don't think he'd want anything. It'd be funny if he went to the Ravens. I'd laugh. I think it'd be hilarious.
The Ravens owner was in a press conference yesterday.
He did joke
when
about it.
A reporter said, hey, by the way, Tomlin just stepped down. And he was pretty adamant and clear that he is not offering that job to Tomlin.
No, that would be
Tomlin made a gesture at the end of the game, the last week of the season, where Baltimore was playing the Steelers for the last playoff spot, and Baltimore Ravens kicker missed a field goal, and Tomlin made a gesture, and so he basically said in that moment, it was kind of funny to see the real time a reaction from the coach, from the owner of the Ravens, because he was asked and he was like, no, I don't think Tomlin's going to be on.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think Tomlin's going anywhere. Now, we've already discussed Tomlin, we've discussed Harbaugh, we've discussed Stefanski. My next big thing, and this does pertain to the Lions, so I'm going to bring it up, but I do think...
And I like this take.
I do think Mike McDaniel is not going to take a head coaching job this year. I think he is going to take the Lions offensive coordinator job. And here is why. There is no good head coaching job for you to take if you're Mike McDaniel. And the Lions, offensively, are just a team that is a better version of the offense that you wanted to run in Miami. Jared Goff is a better quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 3 running back in the NFL. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown and JMO, who are top wide receivers in the NFL. Like, he's getting all the pieces that he needs, and what being in the offensive coordinator for the Lions does for you is you go to a team that's really talented, you're going to coach a really talented team, and then in 2 years, a position is going to open up that's a lot more enticing for you, and you're going to take it, and you're going to like it more. And I don't think McDaniel did a bad job with Miami, at least to start. It was pretty good. And then Tua was your quarterback, and things fell apart because Tua was unfortunately your quarterback. But also, I think he's too laid back of a guy. But you give him 2 years with Detroit, and he's probably going to get another job that's a lot nicer than what he's going to get right now. And he'll be Ben Johnson 2.0, right? He's going to get handed a team with really great pieces, and then he's going to do what he did in Miami again, probably. But that's why I think McDaniel is going to take the position with the Lions over anything else, because I think that is the best job you can get outside of a head coaching job in the offseason right now. I think the Lions offensive coordinator position is the best thing you can get outside of a head coach.
For Mike McDaniels.
Honestly,
or in general.
In general positional openings, I think getting a coordinator position with the Lions is going to be is your nice looking job.
That's fair to say, and I'm not going to argue that one way or the other, except to say that if you have somebody who's being offered or who can get a head coaching job, they're not going to take the Lions offensive coordinator job over a head coaching job.
Yeah.
This is sort of a unique situation because McDaniels, based on what's happened this year, is not going to be offered another head coaching job this cycle.
Probably
And
not.
so he's going to have to pick the best option. And if it was offered to him, I agree with you, this would be the best option. But if, name a coach gets offered either the Browns job or the Lions offensive coordinator job,
Oh, they're
that
gonna
coach
go
is
for
going to take the Browns job.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
This really, and the reason why I like this, and you actually brought this up to me before, was the reason this works and why it's really actually quite smart is because you've got that offensive mind who is available and is only available to either he's going to have to either take a job like this or sit out. And this is probably the best chance. This is probably the best one he's going to get.
And like, if you think about it too, like a couple years, right? He's with the Lions for 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe less, maybe more, right? There's going to be a lot of really nice head coaching positions that might open up.
Well, there's 6 to 8 that open every year.
Well, yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
Let's
There's
think
just
about
6 to 8.
teams in the next couple of years who might be shopping for a head coach. Andy Reid might retire in a couple of years, right? Then you got the fucking Chiefs.
I don't see him retiring until Mahomes is done at the earliest.
That's true, those are options. So either way, yeah, I think this is the best position for Mike McDaniel. I think that's where he should go.
Okay. I think the Titans job. I think the Cardinals and the Titans jobs are going to go to first-year coaches.
I think
those
the
are going to
Brown
be
job is going to go to a first-year
or
coach
potentially
too.
you said Saleh.
Yeah.
I think the Browns will go to a first-year coach, a coordinator of some sort. Titans is definitely going to be, I think, one of those positions as well. And actually, out of all of those, I think the Falcons job is a great job.
Falcons job is the
when you look at the pieces that they've got there. The only concern I have for the Falcons is that Penix is hurt again, and he has not proven himself at all.
No,
to be quite honest, he really hasn't. And so, Penix is what, second year in the league?
Well, here's a great thing.
Coming up.
Here's a great thing. Mac Jones is an available quarterback for a team
that's true. There's a couple.
There
are a couple of backups, which is how you're going to have to build because
Mac Jones is going to Arizona or Atlanta. He's going to one of those two teams.
Okay, fair enough. And if he goes to Atlanta, that's probably not a bad deal. I don't know if that's their long-term end-all be-all solution, but the other pieces Atlanta has, they're a really good football team already. I think plug and play. I mean, I don't think a lot's changing this year to next. I don't think they had a ton of injuries. I think really that's, the quarterback is one of the things, and nobody's getting a quarterback this year in the draft unless the Raiders.
Yeah.
Besides the Raiders who have the number 1 overall pick. Good job, Raiders. Way to be number 1 in something.
Well, yeah.
And even then, I mean, that's sort of dependent. Again, that's why I want Stefanski, the offensive coordinator, the offensive mind, who's great with young quarterbacks. Well, who will have that young quarterback. I don't want a defensive coordinator after we pick.
That's true. Fernando Mendoza
I don't want
at number 1.
ruining Fernando Mendoza.
So some other draft news as well. Dante Moore dropped out of the draft. He's going to play another year. So there really is only one. There's only one quarterback who's going to go in the draft this year, and it is Fernando
Mendoza.
In the
first round.
And it is
probably in the first round. Yeah,
he's gonna be the number 1 pick. Mendoza is by all means a really talented quarterback. He's not a fucking athlete in comparison to what people want to say. He's not the guy who can do it all like Josh Allen, but he's got a fucking head on his shoulders.
He's not Josh Allen.
He's got a fucking head on his shoulders, and he knows what the fuck goes on when he's playing football. He knows football. He's smart.
I know.
So,
but he needs an offensive. He needs a coach.
And so the Raiders need to make that decision to hire Stefanski. I agree. But yeah, when it comes to coaches taking teams like the Titans, the Cardinals, the Falcons, right? There are quarterback options that are not. Yes, but the Raiders have their quarterback. I'm more so talking about these teams. Yeah, I'm talking about the teams that don't have a quarterback in the draft that they can draft, right? You have Mac Jones, you have Malik Willis, right, who's bumping around. There's maybe a couple other guys who are bumping around, but I think the 2 guys who are not starting quarterbacks right now, who will probably be starting next year, are Mac Jones, Malik Willis, and where they go is important, right? Miami.
And Mac Jones was a number 1 pick.
Yeah, right?
I mean, he's a first round pick,
He's a
not a
first
number one
round pick,
overall.
not
He's a
number one,
first round
right?
pick, yeah.
Right. But you have Miami and you have Atlanta and you have Arizona, who are all really questionable at the quarterback position right now. And we'll see where those guys go.
Steelers don't have a quarterback.
Steelers don't. They'll probably stick with Justin Fields if he's still under contract because they have nobody else. I think Kenny Pickett is a good option too. I think Kenny Pickett could be serviceable.
The problem with staying with Justin Fields is that he plays for the Jets, so that's going to be.
Oh my God, he's back on the Jets. Sorry, I've not paid attention to where that guy has gone.
He went from the Steelers to the Jets, and he was also their starting quarterback for the first couple weeks. But
oh my God, he's so bad.
They buried him. He's been on like 4 teams since he's been in the NFL, and it's been terrible.
Oh, I feel so bad for him and his career.
Yeah, that's the state of where Justin Fields is. No, the Steelers have nobody. Aaron Rodgers,
Mason Rudolph. They do actually.
I know they've had Mason Rudolph for like 6 years, and he plays whenever nobody else can. But that's basically his job.
Yeah,
his job is to play when nobody else can. That's what I'm saying about the Steelers, though. To go back not too far, but they have a ton of picks in this draft, which is not going to give them a quarterback. But they've got a ton of picks, and they're very young, and so they can actually build on the draft this year. Hire their coach and say, hey, you got no pressure for like 8 years, bro. Let's just build this thing. And then suck the next couple years while they get a quarterback and build all this equity and then make another run at it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That going back to that.
I'm going to contest you. The Steelers roster is not young by any means. That is an old ass roster. They're an aging roster. But
they have some young pieces. Their major pieces are old. You're right.
They do have some young pieces, are old. But that team,
they're going to be able to replace all of those key pieces in this draft. They've got a ton of picks. A ton of picks. 5 in the first 100 is a ton of picks.
Yeah.
Because that's only the first 2.5 rounds or 3 rounds. They have 5 in the first 3 rounds.
First 3 rounds, yep.
They don't have anything high, but they have a ton. And the first picks generally net you 1 or 2 superstars out of 32, where you get most of your long-term all-pro type of players second and third rounds. That's what you get those. So, I just think that there's a lot to be had there. Maybe not next year, but I think there's a lot to be had there. In summary, it has been a huge off-season or just even end of season for head coaches. There's a ton of movement. There are some really good coaches, uncharacteristically out there right now with Harbaugh and Tomlinson and Stefanski.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of teams that I think that there are some fan bases. All fan bases are rooting for these things, but there are a couple teams that collectively the media, NFL people think are really good jobs. We've discussed those: Ravens, Steelers, Giants, and there are some really poo-poo teams that most people think. Raiders is one of those. Cardinals, some of the Browns aren't really all that great. But I think that, this sort of is exciting for those of us who are in the number 1 draft pick people. Yay, Raiders.
Yay!
And also some really exciting times for some teams that are playing in the playoffs right now that are phenomenal. I think it's been awesome. I'm so excited to continue watching this. I'm very much looking forward to, because every single matchup that you can make as far as a Super Bowl, as a football fan, maybe not to go to the party and I want to see the 2 flashiest teams play, but as a football fan, I could see any of these matchups, however this plays out, having a lot to root for. And so I'm super excited about watching these playoffs. And with some of the big name coaches, who knows what Tomlinson's going to do, but, Harbaugh and Stefanski, some of these guys, and McDaniels that could go to somewhere like the Lions. It's a super cool and fun time to kind of watch how that stuff goes as well. So it's been a few weeks since we've had some conversations. I know I've written down probably hundreds of topics to talk about over those weeks, but the NFL moves so fast, and so a lot of those topics got left behind. But I know that I think we are pretty committed to closing out this season the next few weeks up until and past the Super Bowl, which we'll figure out how that works. But continuing the next, doing our weekly pod, and kind of seeing how a lot of these things play out with the playoffs, and as well as sort of some of how the coaches and stuff will play out. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Oh, wow.
It's sort of sad. I know that I always call it the dark times of the year when after the Super Bowl is over. But I'm certainly excited for the next 3-4 weeks to see how a lot of these things we talked to today, how they play out. So
yep, me too. I agree. All right, well, with that, I guess I'll say thanks for watching this episode
and listening.
Yeah. And we've just been two vits talking
talking shit.
shit. Yes, dude.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.